Everyone laughed at her for looking like a zombie, but 2 years later they regretted it. When Karen was just 3 years old, doctors diagnosed her with a rare skin condition. The condition caused her skin to look patchy and discolored, and people unkindly said she looked like a zombie. This harsh label would follow her for much of her life. From childhood through adulthood, Karen faced relentless bullying and exclusion. In school, her classmates avoided her, wrongly fearing that her skin condition was contagious. Teachers rarely intervened, and Karen was often left sitting alone at lunch, longing to be part of a group. The neighborhood children were no different. Their parents forbade them from playing with Karen, saying it was for their own good. Karen grew up in an isolating world, ostracized because of her appearance. She became a quiet, reserved girl, watching the world from the sidelines, hoping for a day when someone would see beyond her skin. Years passed, and the isolation persisted. By the time she reached adulthood, the loneliness was all too familiar, but Karen was resilient. Despite the constant rejection, she remained a kind and caring person, refusing to let bitterness consume her. She sought solace in books, art, and, later, the internet, where she could escape the harsh judgments of her real-world environment. It wasn't until Karen was 26 that her life began to change. Through an online forum, she met Ed Milson, a bright and funny man who immediately clicked with her. Their conversations were effortless, and as days turned into weeks, Karen found herself eagerly awaiting his messages. Ed Milson was captivated by Karen's warmth and intelligence, while Karen was drawn to his humor and ability to make her feel at ease. After chatting online for over a month, Ed Milson couldn't resist asking Karen out on a date, but the request filled Karen with dread. She feared that when he saw her in person, he would be repulsed by her appearance and hurt her in the way so many others had. Despite her fear, Karen realized she was no longer satisfied with just talking to Ed Milson online. She wanted more. She wanted to meet him, to see if their connection could survive the harsh reality of face-to-face interaction. Finally, they arranged to meet at a small coffee shop in town. Karen's heart raced as she waited for him to arrive. When Ed Milson walked in and spotted her, she braced herself for the worst. His initial shock was undeniable, but to Karen's surprise, it quickly melted away. His face softened into a warm smile, and he walked over to her, took her hand, and said, "Karen, you're even more wonderful in person." Karen felt a rush of relief and happiness like she had never experienced before. They spent hours talking over coffee, sharing stories, dreams, and laughter. Ed Milson's acceptance made Karen feel truly valued for the first time in her life. He didn't see her skin condition, he saw her heart, her kindness, and her intelligence. Their relationship blossomed, and over time, Karen's confidence grew. With Ed Milson's support, she decided to share her story with the world. She started a blog about living with her rare skin condition, and to her surprise, it gained a following. People from all over the world connected with her words. Karen became an inspiration, showing others that beauty goes far beyond appearance. 2 years later, Ed Milson proposed to Karen in the same coffee shop where they had their first date. It was a simple but heartfelt moment, and Karen said yes with tears of joy in her eyes. Their wedding was a celebration of love, acceptance, and personal triumph. Many of the people who had once avoided Karen attended, amazed by her transformation and newfound confidence. Her story had touched their hearts, and they regretted the way they had treated her. Soon after, Karen and Ed Milson announced that they were expecting a baby. The news was met with overwhelming joy and support from their community. When their daughter Mia was born, she was healthy and beautiful. Holding Mia in her arms, Karen felt a sense of peace and fulfillment she had never thought possible. She knew that her journey had not been easy, but it had led her to this moment surrounded by love, acceptance, and a future filled with hope. Karen's story is a testament to the power of resilience, self-love, and the impact that one person's kindness can have on another. Despite the unfair treatment she endured, Karen found happiness, friendship, and purpose. She showed the world that it's not what's on the outside that matters, but the strength and beauty within. As Karen held Mia in her arms, her heart swelled with a mixture of love, pride, and disbelief. She thought back to all the years she had spent in isolation, yearning for acceptance, and now here she was, with a loving husband by her side and a beautiful daughter who symbolized the future she never thought she could have. Life had finally gifted her a sense of belonging she had craved for so long. Karen's blog continued to grow as she chronicled her journey into motherhood. She wrote about the challenges of being a new mom, but also about the beauty of embracing imperfection. Her honesty resonated deeply with readers, especially those who felt marginalized because of their own unique challenges. Parents with children who had rare conditions or who had felt outcast for one reason or another found solace in Karen's words. Her blog became a community where people shared their own stories of resilience, each one contributing to a growing collective of voices that no longer felt the need to hide in the shadows. As Karen's influence grew, she was invited to speak at various events on topics like self-acceptance, dealing with societal beauty standards, and raising awareness for rare skin conditions. Public speaking was something Karen never imagined herself doing, especially after a lifetime of avoiding attention. But with Ed Nilsson by her side, always encouraging her, she found the strength to step out onto the stage. Each time she spoke, her voice was steadier, her message more powerful. She was no longer just the girl with the rare skin condition. She was Karen, the advocate, the mother, the woman who had conquered her fears. Karen's story caught the attention of a renowned dermatologist who specialized in rare skin conditions. He reached out to her, offering to collaborate on raising awareness for others with similar conditions and to explore new treatments that could improve their quality of life. Karen agreed wholeheartedly. Together, they created a campaign that brought much-needed visibility to people who had long been ignored by the medical community. Her efforts helped raise funds for research and inspired others to speak openly about their struggles. Despite her growing fame, Karen never lost sight of what mattered most: her family. Mia, now a bright-eyed toddler, was the center of Karen and Ed Nilsson's world. Watching her grow up in a home filled with love, Karen made it her mission to teach Mia the values of empathy, kindness, and self-worth. Karen wanted her daughter to know that true beauty comes from how we treat others and how we see ourselves, not from the superficial judgments of society. One day, when Mia was around 5 years old, she came home from school with a question that caught Karen off guard. "Mommy," she said, her small brow furrowed in curiosity, "why don't you look like the other mommies?" Karen's heart skipped a beat, but she smiled gently. This was the moment she had known would come, a moment that felt both daunting and important. She knelt down beside Mia and looked into her wide, innocent eyes. "Well, sweetheart," Karen began softly, "I have a very special skin condition that makes me look a little different from other people. But being different isn't a bad thing. It just means I have something unique about me, like how you have that beautiful birthmark on your arm." Mia looked down at the small mark on her arm and smiled. "Like a special mark?" "Yes, exactly," Karen nodded. "We all have something that makes us special, something that no one else has, and that's what makes us beautiful." Mia's face lit up with understanding. "So, you're special, Mommy. I like that." Karen's heart melted at her daughter's sweet words. She hugged Mia tightly, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. In that moment, she realized that Mia would grow up in a world where she would never have to feel ashamed of being different because Karen had broken that cycle. As the years passed, Karen's story continued to inspire others, but for her, the greatest success was her own inner transformation. She had gone from a girl who felt like she had to hide to a woman who proudly embraced who she was. And now, she was passing that strength on to her daughter. By the time Mia was old enough to understand her mother's full story, Karen had become a symbol of hope for countless people. Her blog had evolved into a platform for advocacy, her speeches continued to draw large audiences, and she had even published a memoir that became a bestseller. But for Karen, it wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about creating a world where no one felt alone the way she once had. One evening, as Karen and Edmilson sat together on their porch, watching Mia play in the yard, Karen turned to him with a smile. "Can you believe how far we've come?" she asked softly, resting her head on his shoulder. Edmilson smiled, squeezing her hand. "I always knew you had it in you," he said. "You've always been incredible, Karen. Now the whole world knows it too." Karen chuckled, her heart full of love. "I couldn't have done it without you. You were the first person who truly saw me for who I am. And I'll keep seeing you every day," Edmilson replied, kissing her forehead gently. As they watched Mia chase fireflies in the yard, Karen realized that the life she had once thought was out of reach was now hers to cherish. It wasn't just the love of a partner or the success she had found that made her feel whole. It was the realization that, through all the pain and loneliness, she had remained true to herself. She had never let the world's cruelty break her spirit, and in the end, it was her kindness, her resilience, and her unwavering belief in love that had triumphed. Karen had once been laughed at for looking like a zombie, but now the world celebrated her for the beauty of her heart and soul. And as she held on to Edmilson's hand, watching the glow of their daughter's laughter fill the evening air, Karen knew that she had finally found the happiness she had always deserved.